the life in your country change during World War II?
How did my life and something change?
How did your life in your community change during World War II?
In the community? Well, the whole country that was involved in the war. There wasn't anybody that was left out. And we had over 12 million people under arms in our service. And I was at the Baptist Church in Adrian on the 7th of November, is that right?
December, D-Day?
Yeah, December 7th, 1941. And the minister said he had just heard news that the United States had been attacked at Pearl Harbor. And I was, 17, 18 years old, then. And so I knew I was going to sign up for something, but I wasn't sure what I wanted to sign up for, what service. But then the Navy came up with what they called the V-12 program, which was an officer procurement program for the Navy. And if you signed up for that, you joined the Navy and you were an apprentice seaman. That's as low as you get in the Navy. While you were in school, they sent you to school until they thought you had enough school so that you could become an officer in the Navy. So in 1941, I left Adrian and went to Kalamazoo, Western Michigan in Kalamazoo. There are two colleges in Kalamazoo. Kalamazoo College is a small Baptist college, and the bigger one is the university, Kalamazoo Western University. Anyway, I was there for 2 semesters, during which time some of the courses I took were math, and I took calculus and differential and integral calculus. And but the important thing that I remembered taking was naval traditions, because if you're going to be in the Navy, you got to learn how the Navy works. And that included everything from who you had to salute, and when you stood up, and if you're standing up and you're not in uniform and somebody sings the national anthem, you put your hand over your heart, and you stand. You don't sit down when somebody's singing. All these things that are to help you get along in the Navy, so that the Navy trains you the way they want you to be. So I was there 2 semesters, and then I went to what was called a pre-midshipman school, and that was at Asbury Park, New Jersey. And there I waited for an opening in a midshipman school. Midshipman school is the school that teaches people how to become a naval officer. And so I became a midshipman at Ithaca, New York, at having a blank.
The university?
Yeah.
Cornell
University of Ithaca, New York. And I was there for 3 months while they trained you to be an officer in the Navy. And when I graduated from that school, I became an officer. I was an ensign. In the officer rank, that's the lowest grade of an officer, is an ensign, E-N-S-I-G-N. And it was, after that, then I was on a ship called the USS Memphis, which was a light cruiser. It was CL-13. CL is the Navy designation of a light cruiser. And the USS Memphis was an old four-piper. They called it a four-piper because they had 4 smokestacks. And they were built in about 1925, so it was already an old ship in 1941. It was already about 30 years old. But it was about all we had. They hadn't really started to really build the Navy yet, so this was a good ship to be assigned to. And I was there on board that ship until they decided that they needed officers for amphibious forces. amphibious means that you can work on both the land and on the ocean. And about that time, the United States had about decided that the only way to defeat Japan was to invade Japan. So we had to figure out how we were going to send sailors and soldiers and Marines to land on Japan and have a war with them and then defeat them. In the meantime, of course, all these other islands like Guadalcanal and Saipan and Midway and all these other islands that we had already owned were falling to Japan. Japan was taking over all those. The only way that you can land people on a shore, because they weren't going to let you land at docks and so on, was to land on the beaches. And so they had what was called LCVPs, Landing Craft Vehicle Personnel, LCVPs. And these were, they were built like in a way that was kind of built like a tank, except that it had paddles on the side. It was like a tractor with paddles that would go in the water. And the LCVPs would then go up on shore. They were designed, most boats don't want to go on shore, they can't get away. But with the LCVPs, you could go on up on the shore, drop the front ramp, then all the soldiers and sailors that were inside would run out and get on the beach. And then they pulled the ramp up, and then it had a very powerful diesel engine in it, and it could put it in reverse, and the diesel engine would shoot a column of water underneath the boat, the LCVP, which would float it, and then you would back it off the beach. Because that was the whole idea, was to get back on your ship again. So I got assigned to an APD, it's called, an Auxiliary Personnel Destroyer. It's like smaller than a destroyer, but it had 4 LCVPs on it. And these 4 LCVPs would hold, each one of them would hold 35 Marines, and so we had about 150 Marines on board our ship, which we were designed to get those Marines in the LCVPs, put the LCVPs down in the water, and come ashore and land on Japan, and let the Marines out so they could fight, and back off and get back to our ship. Would you like to see a picture of the LCVPs?
Sure.
Come in the other room.